Good morning, Predicted Trades family. Hope everybody's doing well. We got an exciting day ahead of us. We got CPI. But first, let's have a little quick review. So, coming into the day yesterday, we were in a wedge, as you can see by these trend lines. We had a little slip at open, then popped back up to our open range buy zone where we rejected near the top of that wedge, back to the bottom of the wedge, couldn't get to the top of the wedge, setting a lower high. And then we started a slow drift from about 11:30 to 1 p.m. Just a slow drift down. And then around 1 we finally gave out and headed lower. Real quick, let's just look at SPY as well, just to show how we fall to our open range buy zone. We bounce up to our open range sell zone, where if it's a down day, this is where they like to load, at our sell zone. If it's an up day, they like to load at our buy zone and take off to the upside. So we played some longs up, then we started hitting the shorts down, locking profit, adding back in when we reject our open level on SPY, and then again from 11:30 to about 1, we start this breakdown, and around 1 we get our last test of our open range buy zone before giving out and heading to our destination level. If you guys want to, since we're doing a quick review and we have some new folks listening in today, let's take a quick look. The main option for yesterday on SPY to the downside was the 377 put. Called this out multiple times yesterday. It gets down to our beast zone and our open range buy zone and settles at about 40-50 cents. Goes from there up to today, the current day's open and the previous day's open, at around $1.20 and $1. So it gave a full double and maybe even a triple if you caught it at the low up to that point. Then they come back, and around 11:45 they base again 40 to 50 cents and start to climb in value. You can see that at 1 p.m. it gave one last tap of our bottom beast at 48 cents. And from there gained value up to our profit targets above, up to $1.70, $2, and then finally up to $2.84 and $3. If we look at SPX, the 3770 was a big tell. It got down into its beast zone and open range buy zone, which were overlapping each other, and it held the bottom repeatedly. 3 taps and we're good to go. Off of that 267, these got up to almost 26, so almost a 10x on this one. And you can see later in the day held the open level. That can be very bullish. If you miss the beginning of the move, you can always get back in at something critical like that. Let's look even a little further. 3750s, which were a little further out the money. Those drifted down into our beast zone, where you can see they did provide off of our beast level of $1.60 a trade up to $4, so well over a double, and then slip back down again, settling. We did have a level of about 47 cents. It did not quite make it to, But once it started to break back over our bottom beast of $1.50, that was a great entry multiple times. It went $1.50 to $5, $1.50 to $6, $1.50 to $3.50, and another $1.50 to $7. Just pointing this out because these levels are important all day. And there are plenty of times when it falls below the beast zone, I let it do whatever it's going to do, and then once it starts to wake back up, I'll play off of that beast level again. We don't have to be the ones to catch bottoms when we don't have any level there to give us support. We can always wait for it to get back to a level of support and get in as it's taking off from that. So I just wanted to show how the puts looked with yesterday's breakdown. And if you want, we can take a quick look at the calls just to show that the calls, not looking at the whole day, there we go. The calls got down to our open range buy zone and our beast zone. They tag the bottom beast and the middle of the open range buy zone at 50 cents, and those went up to $1.20. Then they came back and they rejected our beast zone and went lower. So that was a good indication right at around, why can't I see the time? This is so annoying. There we go. So you can see, what's it, right about noon. At noon, these gave out their beast zone for the last time. That was kind of a good sign that from noon to 1, we should be loading puts, watching puts, getting inputs. And even though it was a down day, the calls did provide well over a double off of our beast zone. So, back to ES. We're about to get our CPI data in just a few seconds. Let's go ahead and load up a larger time frame. Just wanted to kind of cover how yesterday unfolded to show you guys what signs to look for on if we're going to break down, if we can hold and go back up, that kind of thing. All right, CPI data coming out. Let's see what candle we get here. Overall, boom, right back up. From the bottom of a 4-hour squeeze, now arriving at the top. And right back to our 38.43, 38.55. So let's see where they let it come back and settle to for open. Let's load in our beast tool one more time. Just to say we've gone past our beast tool, yep. So so we're having a big push up on CPI. We are arriving back at the zone that we sold off from on Tuesday's wacky action, right? We got a little bit above it, sold off from it, then rejected it to slip down yesterday. This is eerily similar to previous CPIs where we kind of grinded up and then sold off. We grinded down yesterday, and now we get our pop. Let me see real quick if the numbers have dropped so we can take a look at those. Checking our stock news channel. The consensus was like 7.9. If it can be under that, looks like it fell at 7.7. So, that is very good. Inflation potentially coming down. So, how are we going to trade this today? We're arriving at a key zone. We're arriving at 4-hour squeeze top with a big gap up. Would not be surprised for them to uh, open near here, take a drift back to our moving averages and key levels before heading higher. Could we just gap, hold something, and go? Absolutely. Need to be ready for that. This 4-hour squeeze top and bottom are a little thin, so it makes it a little easier to push through them. And SPY is going to be a great gauge with the Beast Tool. Obviously, we saw with ES, we shot past the Beast Tool levels, which is fine because we still have SPY to play off of. Depending on where it opens, we'll still get our open range buy zone, sell zone, and whatnot to play off of. Don't be surprised for some profit taking and a slow drift before heading higher. And don't be shocked if it's just a gap and then go. But in this environment, in this market, we usually have some decent pullbacks. I would say maybe don't rush in long at open because that's what they expect you to do. There's going to be profit taking, there's going to be a pullback. Congrats if you swung at calls. I know we talked about in the room what calls were at Beast yesterday before close. All right, so on ES today, let's see if we get a little drift back and test some of these daily moving averages before heading higher. Key levels to the upside if we can continue. We got to get through this zone up to 3878, 3900, 3922. Those are key levels to the upside that we could potentially see today. Let's see, ES closed around 37.55. So we're pretty much up a full ATR. Can we keep going? Yes. Can we just... Could we get a pop and reject the squeeze top and some key levels, maybe high of week? And then start a drift back down? Yes. Yeah, I think that pretty much covers most scenarios. If it is just a gap and go, be ready for longs off of this zone. Could be that we pop up, hit this, come back, hold this zone, then take off for more. And if we do go further, we have our targets to the upside. All right, let's go to NQ. NQ rallied to the mean, sold back to first Keltner down, and from first Keltner down right back to the mean, so full ATR move there as well. Right at the top of this 4-hour squeeze. Let's see if we can get a rejection and a drift back to like this 11,068, 11,000, and then a takeoff to go further. Also, don't be shocked if they drop it back down and chop it today, as they take profit and load in for another leg. If we can push higher, big psych level up above 11,500, where the daily 50 sits. But, you know, that's kind of like a 2 ATR move. So it might be a little out of reach today, but it could be where we're going this week. Back to the daily 50 on NQ. If we do get a rejection and a slip back, let's see if we can get to that 11,068, right where that daily 8 sits, right at the kind of the last daily moving average that we have below us at this point, and then take off for more. Also, don't be shocked if we do come back and start to lose this 11,068. We can come right back down to this zone where we pushed off from, where we bounced off of, where we came back to. You know, it's just like when we had CPI, I think it was, or I think it was CPI like a month ago. We dumped hard pre-market. We ran into squeezed bottoms, and then we rallied all day. Don't be surprised if they, instead of giving us any further upside today, reject and drift back all day just to load it up tomorrow on a Friday and run it back up into next week, which is an OPEX week. I think that kind of covers all the scenarios, right? We've got a big move up. It's pretty much a full ATR. We could reject back, bounce, and try to go for more. There is always the gap and go potential, but again, we're up a full ATR and we're running into resistance. So it could be like a quick pop up and then back. Yeah, expecting it to just keep gapping and going would be surprising. So be ready for a dip and reload to keep going. Be ready for a slow grind back. For them to reload tomorrow into next week at better prices. Ready. Getting right back up to this trend line. We're still nowhere near where we sold off from on FOMC. So on ready, wouldn't be surprised to hit this trend line, drift back to about 1800, yesterday's highs, before heading higher. And we still have that trend line to deal with. If we can't hold yesterday's highs and the daily 8, then we could drift back to the daily 21, maybe even the daily 50. Looks like we don't have a 4-hour squeeze in place on the ready or YM, but we do on NQ and ES, so use that as a gauge and potential rejection point. YM, setting a new high, had already recovered above where we sold off from on FOMC, and basically just moved from the daily 200 and first Keltner up to the second Keltner. We're approaching big key psych level, 33,500. If we can get a pullback, I'd be watching 33,000, that high from FOMC, for potential bounce and run back up. If we start to lose that, back to 32,900, kind of where we resisted and sold off from yesterday. Key levels to watch in case we do slip back. And if we keep going, 33,500, 34,000. But again, let's see, we're at 32,500, we're at 33,500. I mean, YM has gone almost 1,000 points in this pop. So expecting it to just keep going is a little outside of the realm of what's normal. Apple. So names like Apple might be a little better to play since they have been getting beat up a little bit and are now popping back above key support. If they can hold that key support, Apple ATR about 5 points. Yeah, up in ATR as well. Apple, if it can hold above 138 today, this week, and might even drift back to 136, but if it can get back above 138 and hold this zone, obvious goal is to get back up to the daily 21, which sits around 144 and a half, 145. That's the first targeted zone to the upside if Apple can keep going. AMD made it back to 60, right back up. If we have a little dip this morning, looking for 61, 61 and a half to hold around this daily 21, daily 8. And if she can keep going, the upside target is that 66 and a half, or 65 and a half, 65 recent high zone above, up at the top of this daily squeeze. Amazon. Popping right back up to that key 90, 91 level. If it rejects, likely coming back to 87 and a half. If we can get through that 90, 91, The goal is for it to get back to 95, 97 key levels above. We do have the daily 8 right around that 93 to keep an eye on. BA. Just strong as a tank and still trucking. Overall, next big key level for BA to hit is 190. We are up past third Keltner, so we're getting a little extended, a little overbought. From this point, basically I'd be watching each 5-point increment up to 190. Because at some point this thing is likely going to reject and start to come back. But still remaining strong. If it does start to reject, coming back to 169, then 162.5, 164, 160, 154. All key levels to the downside to watch. Should BA start to take a break. You know, I've been talking about that there's been strong names up past their third Keltner. There's been weak names down near their third Keltner. We got a reversion to the mean on the market, and they pretty much parked it at the mean before CPI. Now we have a positive CPI, giving us an indication that the market could go up from here. What that means is they could start to rotate into things that have been getting beat up, like tech. They could start to take profit in things that have been very strong, like BA, CAT, finance. And we could see the market kind of do a slow grind up while they rotate around, taking profit from strong names and putting it into names that have been weak. On CAT, just keeps trucking. At the top of a 4-hour squeeze, next big target is 147, 146.5-ish. 246.5-ish. Jeez, I'm all over the place. But we just kind of tagged 235 at the top of a 4-hour squeeze. We could see CAT start to take a break. It is up past third Keltner. If it does take a break, coming back to this 228. And should that give out 225 and 221 where the daily 8 sits? Coin. Made it down to that 46 level, starting to push off of it. This could be the catalyst that starts to get coin to recover after earnings and slipping lower. We have had this trend line holding us down, but looks like we could be starting the process to try to bounce off this 46 and get back to that trend line at 55. These are your key levels above to watch if she can keep going. If she starts to slip back, want to see her hold that 46. Google. Ooh, Google. Popping up to the next key zone at 91.5, 92. If she rejects this zone, likely coming back to test this 89, 89.5. If she can keep going, past this zone, next target's 93.5, where all of the moving averages. I'm sorry, the daily 21, daily 15 sit around that 93.5. The daily 50 catching up with that 98 and some change. So, got some key targets to the upside if Google can keep going, if tech is about to lead, right? If we start to lose 89, then we could be coming back to retest that 86.5 at the bottom of that 4-hour squeeze. GS. Position for more at 370. Next stop would be 375, 380 if she does keep going. If we reject 370, coming back to retest 367, 365, 360. Hold on one sec. We've got a spammer in our... There we go. That's taken care of. JPM going for more, up at 133, the top of a 4-hour squeeze. If it can keep going, 135, 137. If we start to reject here, coming back to retest, 132, 130, and 129-ish at the bottom of this 4-hour squeeze with the daily 8. Meta. Been saying for weeks, don't touch Meta till she gets back near 100. And here we go, back over 100, pushing for more on this big pop. If you notice, a lot of tech names getting love in this pop. So something to keep an eye on. If Meta can keep trucking upside targets, 110.5, 113.5, daily 21 at that 110.5. I'm sure daily 50 is still way, way, way above, yeah. If we reject 107.5 or 110, then coming back to this 105, maybe even back to 100. Microsoft. Drifted back down to 225 yesterday, but held pretty much around there. Now pushing off of 225, right back to our key level at 232, and going for more. Oh, geez, they're not waiting. Next stop is recent high around 236, and then getting back to 240, 241, big key level, big key zone, where the daily 50 now sits on Microsoft. Netflix made it to my key level here at 252, drifted back to it, now taking off from it, getting back to the daily 21 at 264. If she rejects these daily moving averages, could be coming back to test 260, setting another higher low. If she can keep going through these daily moving averages that are stacked near 265, next stop 278, 280, where that daily 15 sits, in the goal of trying to get back to 300 and push further into this gap zone, back to where we topped out at 305-ish. NVIDIA, oh man, NVIDIA drifted down to that 135 key level at the bottom of that 4-hour squeeze and right back up almost to the top of the 4-hour squeeze. If she can keep going. Next key level 147.3-ish and 149-ish, 150-ish. Past that 155. That's where the third Keltner sits. If she rejects a little at 145 and drifts back at open, looking for 140 to hold. If 140 gives out, then we could be coming right back to retest where we just started to take off from. QQQ. From 263 to 273 at the top of a 4-hour squeeze. If we reject and come back, want to watch the daily 21 at 271.5, psych level 270, and the daily 8 at around 268. All potential bounce points if we do drift back, see some profit taking, see a dip. Could catch bounces around there. If not, then we're coming back to retrace. It'll be like a couple of weeks ago where we dumped hard pre-market and fought way back for more. We could actually push all the way back to where we just took off from just for them to load up for tomorrow. Let's see, SPX going to be having a massive gap up. 116 points. So going to be opening near where we sold off from. Even near Tuesday's highs that we sold off from. So let's see if we get hung up there, start to come back. If we do get a pullback, want to see 38.15 hold, big key level on SPX. and could be a great spot to bounce. If we lose that, coming back to these daily moving averages for a retest and potential load higher. If we keep trucking, we've got 38.60 where a daily Keltner sits. We've got 38.90 where we sold off from on FOMC, 3900, and the top of a daily squeeze up at 39.36. SPY made it down to 374 yesterday, pushing back up to 386, so up like 12 points. If she can keep trucking, arriving back at this 388.5, where we sold off from on FOMC. If she can keep going past that, top of the daily squeeze sits at 392. Got a big key cyclo at 390, our recent high. We could reject this 4-hour squeeze top and drift back, looking for that 381.5, 380 to hold, for them to bounce and take it back higher if we get our drift back. Below that, we're coming back to daily moving averages. Tesla catching a nice pump back up, almost to 190. If we reject there, we'd like to see 185 or 180 hold and give us a bounce. Obvious goal, getting back to 200, where that daily 8 is going to be sitting. UVXY dumping back down near 9.5. If we are going to see a dip this morning, looking for UVXY to hold above that pre-market low, and let's just say this daily Keltner at 9.35. If we're going to see downside and some profit taking, the market pull back, looking for UVXY to hold around here, start heading back up through 9.5, 9.6, and maybe retest 10 or 9.8, right? We pop back up and then reject. If we're just going to see more upside, the goal is for UVXY to get back down to fully test 9. And VIX. VIX made it back to the daily 200 pre-market, and now dumping for new lows on this whole rally that the market's been having. If we can see continued upside, VIX needs to keep going down to 233, 23.33, sorry. And make the journey down to a 22.5. And that cycle of 23 for continued upside. If we are going to get our pullback, we could see VIX hold above 23.5 at the bottom of this 4-hour squeeze. Start to make a pop back above 24, get to 24.25 for a test. 24.5, 25 for a test. If we can see a pullback on the market. But man, they definitely must have loaded long and are pumping it hard. So let's be careful today, folks. Let's check our expectations. Let's not just buy calls at open, thinking it's just going to keep rocketing. We've gotten all the green lights we need to go up. They will always give pullbacks. There will always be profit taking. Let's use our base levels and be smart today. And I probably need to go update all the beast tools now that we have pushed so hard. We're probably past a lot of the strikes that were loaded in. So I'm going to sign off here, go update that. I'll see you guys in the room. Good luck today. Play smart, and we'll see it in the room.